Hey guys, welcome to Tales of Terror from Reddit 4. For the first one, I'm gonna read this president's one, which I saw Gory Priorities read. And I thought, hey, since it's election day, I might as well read it too. Yeah, I hate the election day. I mean, I actually care for it. I'm placing my bets on Biden. But I wish we could have like one president and tell it so it can be president for the rest of his or her life. And then after she dies, we get a newer one. And it would be like this long cycle thing. In fact, pretty much the world's pretty much collapsing at this point because of the presidents we have. So, it's probably fair that I read this creepypasta to bring this question into the world. Is the president an alien? An animal or lizard person under human skin? Well, if the video game Destroy All Humans has ever taught me anything, man's greatest enemy is often itself. The President is Human, written by Oso Brazos. Philip started the video clip as soon as Rose closed the door to the editing bay. Charlie Clark, the newly elected president's head speechwriter, moved on screen. He was familiar to the small group of the soundproof room. He had worked at their news station for 3 years before taking his current position in November of 2016. He was dressed nicely and spoke eloquently enough, but his hands betrayed his nerves. He kept running fingers through his hair, straightening his tie, and sipping water. And, unlike the president, I can say whatever I want, Charlie quipped on screen to the laughter of the assembled journalists. But seriously, the goal of a speechwriter is not to tell the president how he feels. We are not in danger of running the world accidentally. It's to put the president's feelings, the feelings he was elected to have, into the perfect words. Say the president is fuming over a human rights violation. The president is human. He's allowed to be angry. In fact, he's so angry, his commendable diction slips. It's my job to craft a statement that encapsulates the president's anger, is the verbal embodiment of his sense of injustice so he can deliver that to the world. Philip stopped the video and spoke. As the Secret Service led us away from this conference, one of them pressed a paper into my hand. It was a code Charlie and I used as war correspondence in Afghanistan. It says the phrases made when he touched his tie were false. Philip played those segments again. I can say whatever I want. We're not in danger. The president is human. So this one is about these parents adopting a kid and giving him everything he ever wants in life. But after a little while, they put him to sleep after spiking his soda with drugs, and they use him to give organs to their real child, which his name is Charlie, which, fun fact, was actually my childhood nickname, Charlie. My real name is Charles, but I've been called Charlie, for most of my childhood. I'm referred to as Charles now, but any way you say my name, Charles, Charlie, Charmander, Charcoal, any way you say my name, I consider that acceptable. And that should be it. The perfect little boy. Written by human_gravy. To find the perfect little boy, we hired the best possible agent we could find. Money was no object. No expense would be spared. The process was easier than we could have imagined. With access to thousands of files and the agency's full cooperation, we found our perfect little boy. Andres was everything we could have possibly hoped for and needed. He was a beautiful boy, the perfect height and weight, and in excellent health. According to the orphanage files, the poor boy had dropped off at a police station as a newborn, and no one ever came forward to claim him. He'd been a ward of the state ever since, with no ties to his previous life, no family to possibly claim him and stir up trouble. My husband and I immediately told the agency we would take him. We flew across the world for the perfect little boy we needed in our lives. Upon arriving at the orphanage, the nuns introduced us. Andres was every bit as beautiful and lively as his photograph showed. He was shy, but soon warmed up to us. The language barrier made conversation difficult, but I'd studied Spanish at Dartmouth and could communicate the basics. It mattered not, as Andres soon came to love us, and we came to love him. We gave in to his every want and desire. Our perfect little boy deserved everything the world had to offer. He asked for toys, junk food, and watched television for hours until he fell asleep in the hotel bed. We provided these with smiles on our faces. Our perfect little boy adored us, and we loved him as if he were our own, except he wasn't. Our perfect little boy asked for a soda. He didn't notice my husband added a special ingredient to the mix. Within minutes, Andres was asleep. We carried our perfect little boy downstairs to the car and drove back to the orphanage. We paid the agency, the priest, and the doctors in American dollars. As soon as all parties were satisfied, we were escorted into the orphanage's basement and saw Andre sleeping in a gurney next to our little boy Charlie. Seeing them together filled my heart with sadness for Andres, but hope for the future of our little Charlie. Since being diagnosed, Charlie has worried about dying obsessively. Being placed in the bottom of the organ donor list was a death sentence with the shortage of donors compatible. My husband and I simply wouldn't allow him to suffer. Before the operation began, we asked the doctor for a moment to say goodbye to our perfect little boy Andres, who matched Charlie perfectly. Since we're quarantined in our house, I find this story by the same name, Quarantine, to be pretty appropriate for the topic. So, I'll be reading this. Quarantine, written by Ash the Alter. It's time to quarantine, they said, and shut everything down. What do I do now? I said as I paced around. I was home alone today. My parents were at work. We were running out of food. Less and less money is earned. I had to do something quick before I started to starve. Just then I got this big idea. With it, this food problem I could solve. When my parents arrived home, I slowly snuck about. I hid the knife behind my back, knowing soon that they would shout. As I plunged the knife into my mother's chest, and then my father's too, I got out a pot and sliced them up and cooked a delicious stew. Now today, I'm no longer hungry and happy as can be, but quarantine has just begun, and I need something for tea. This one is weird. So weird that I posted the comment, "Tiny monsters that I can punt so far, all be accepted into the NFL as a punter." I'm not even gonna say anything more. I'm just gonna jump directly to a story. The Chiwumbles, written by Garnet and Opal. It was still dark when Derek woke to giggles coming from his bathroom. At first, he planned to stride into a bathroom and show his kids his angry face, and tell them to go back to bed. Then he remembered that the kids were at their mom's for the weekend. Who the hell is in this bathroom? He quietly peeked around the edge of the door. There were 5 brown little monkeys on the bathroom sink, chattering away in what sounded like a language. Derek stood there with half of his mind accepting that there were 5 little monkeys in his bathroom, and the other half of his mind completely boggled. Monkeys don't have a language, he thought. Suddenly, he turned on the bathroom light. Ah! The monkeys screeched, looking at him. They weren't monkeys. Oh, they were hairy, all right, with pudgy little bellies, their bodies all covered in dense pelts like moles, leaving only their feet, hands, and faces bare. Their faces were mostly taken up by eyes, large, luminous, round eyes, while their tiny noses pushed up at the tip, and they had rosebud lips. They were like cherubs, hairy, wingless cherubs in his bathroom. "Who are you?" he asked. "And what are you doing in my bathroom?" All 5 little whatevers started talking at once. "We're Chiwumbles." "Chiwumbles? I'm a Chiwumble. Chiwumble. We're Chiwumbles." "Chiwumbles?" he said, while they all laughed. "We're like the orange ones," one of them piped. "Orange what?" he asked. All that, the little whatevers jumped, and 2 climbed on top of one, while another climbed on the remaining one, and they opened his medicine cabinet. They were on the top shelf where the baby aspirins and chewable vitamins that Derek had put there to discourage his kids from eating them like candy. "The orange ones," they cried, reaching down the baby aspirin and vitamins. "Wait a second," Derek said. "You can't just eat them like candy." To his surprise, they reacted like his own kids. He kept them to 1 vitamin each and 1 baby aspirin. Whatever the hell they were, he didn't want them getting sick all over his bathroom. One of them popped up and said, "To the kitchen!" Derek blocked the door. "What do you want in the kitchen?" "We like the sharp ones." "Sharp one whats?" "Knives!" they cried. Derek thought he could reason with them. "Knives aren't to be played with." "No," the closest one said, very solemnly. "We eat with them." "Eat what?" "You." Derek quickly said, "Hey guys, what about having a couple more aspirins and vitamins first?" The little whatevers cheered. After they finished all the aspirins and vitamins, he introduced them to the painkillers in the medicine cabinet, the laxatives, even his ex's old birth control pills. It took nearly all the meds in the cabinet before the last one yelled over. There's time to be a daddy. And this wasn't it, he thought. For this story, this involves your favorite childhood toy turning bad. So I just want to say, no more playing with Legos. It's all about Minecraft blocks forever. Never play with Legos. Written by Suicidal Gamer. I'm 19 and I live alone. Now, this story takes place about 3 years ago. I was 16 and my mom wanted me to throw out my old toys since we were moving and didn't have any space for the toys. So as I'm taking out boxes of my toys when I was like 7, then I stumbled upon my box of Legos and I didn't want to throw them away, so I snuck them into the moving truck when we got to our new house. I took the box to my new room and these Legos didn't look like normal Legos. Like they had disturbing faces on them and had what looked to be red stains on them. But since they were old, I brushed off as it just being old. Bad decision. The next day I went to school. All of my friends were talking about my school bully. He wasn't there. They said he was murdered last night, with no traces of broken glass or door, and no fingerprints. I just said probably just a suicide. Well, I was wrong. I'll talk more about that later. I went home and looked at the Legos. The same old Legos were there. I thought there would be blood or something in the box, but I was wrong. The blood was on my window. Written on the window with blood was, "Why don't you play with us, Max?" I ran out my room only to find my mom. Half of her body and the Lego next to her. I ran out the house to the nearest police station. Something was running after me. I tried to call the police, no service. I heard a loud bang and felt a sharp pain in my leg. I was shot. I have never looked or even played with a Lego after that incident. Does anyone still remember The Simpsons Road Rage or Crazy Taxi game? I found this story called Road Rage, and I think, hey, it's good, might as well read this. Road Rage, written by Deep and Hidden WV. I had to slam on my brakes. The moron in front of me on a 3rd-lane highway just cut me off again. I had moved over 2 of those when he got onto the highway a few seconds ago. My 3 kids in the back seat were yelling at me to stop giving them whiplash. It wasn't me, I told them. The guy in front of us is driving crazy. That's the 2nd time he's done it. No one was on the highway but us. It didn't make any sense. I would signal and get in a different lane, and the man in the black car would get ahead of me and slam on his brakes. After about the 4th time, my kids really got scared. "Why's he doing that, Mommy? I'm scared." This was quickly becoming a fight for survival. He was putting me and my children in danger. by driving this way. I got mad, so when he attempted to do it again, I veered over to the other lane. I was in the middle this time and sped up until I was in front of him. I wanted to slam my brakes on so bad. I wasn't going to gamble with the chance he wouldn't ram from behind with my kids in the car. I had aimed to keep him behind me, but he quickly outmaneuvered me and found myself driving next to him. Rolling down my window, I yelled, "What's your problem?" His window rolled down. I was looking at him, raising a gun to point at me, when he rear-ended a car in front of me, making them both spin out of control and crash. I pulled over into the emergency lane and grabbed my road flares and cones from the trunk, set it all up, and instructed my kids not to leave the car under any circumstances and to leave their seatbelts on. I know it was a bad move, but I checked on the lady he rear-ended first. She was okay. She was on the phone with 911. I had to swallow the lump of fear in my throat before I approached the black car, but I went to it. He was slumped over the steering wheel, drool and blood hanging from his mouth. The gun was on the floor. I grabbed him. It was a pistol. "Help me," a child's voice cried from the back seat. I quickly broke the window open. The car door was too crushed. I helped a little girl no more than 8 and bound with duct tape to get out of the car. She was crying and visibly in shock. Now I don't know why. All of a sudden, I was desperate to get this little girl as far from the man as possible. She was still tied up when I put her in my car with the kids and drove away straight to the hospital. Long story short, the man kidnapped her. He was part of a sex slave trade. We had come from the mall, and while we were shopping, the little girl had wrote a note and shoved it through my cracked window. The man wanted it back, and he wanted a loose end tied up. He would have killed us all. She made it back home, and so did we. The man perished in the accident. Good riddance. In this creepypasta, there was this guy who made meat out of human flesh. And in case you ask me what my favorite types of meats are, well, in case you ask me anything about sausage, I like sausage or hot dogs. I like them cooked, grilled, but not boiled. Boiled makes them disgusting. My other favorite meats may include pepperoni, salami, and so on. Well, I'll read this one. What was in the meat I ate yesterday? Written by Element of Death. I had a butcher friend, not the childhood one. It's just that I am an old acquaintance to him. Whenever I visit him, he knows what to give. Pork shoulder, bacon and steak. If any demands from my side, he completes it. No extra charge. One day, he told me that as he is getting old, he needs an assistant and was searching for one. 1 week after that, I went to his shop again and saw a young boy. He was working alone there, so I asked him about the old butcher. He said that the old man had gone out to bring stock. because he was new. I told him my order and took away the meat. The next day, the shop had come in headlines. It seems a body had been found murdered. A week later, post-mortem results identified him as the shop owner, the old butcher. He had been murdered brutally. Such brutal was the murder that he wasn't identified by the face. The police then mentioned that the stomach muscles and thigh muscles were cut from the body. Murder had occurred at 1:30 p.m. in afternoon, and the soon after the murder, these parts were cut. I remembered that. That was the time around which I had visited his shop and had seen that young boy totally drenched in fresh blood. One more thing. Wasn't that my order that day? This one video killed the radio star. I'm reading this one because it reminds me of the song with the same name. Even though I like the song, I'd play it right now, but I don't want to risk getting in trouble with YouTube with copyright claims, but I'll read it. By the way, the host guy reminds me of Sentinel from Brawlhalla because he's a talk show host who can also become your average American superhero. Anyway, enough rambling, let's read. Video killed the radio star. Written by Sleep Fully Awake. Jazz intro begins. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Midnight Show with Steve Stewfan. We have this wonderful show for you tonight, featuring everyone's favorite musician, Don T. Film. Tonight's show is broadcast through radio, and for the first time ever, live television. The studio audience cheers. Now, welcome your host, Steve Stefan. Steve runs on stage, greeted by the cheers of the crowd. Thank you, Bernie, for the wonderful intro. Yes, we are broadcasting live on television tonight. It's the first time you listeners get to see my ugly mug. The audience laughs. But enough about me, let's introduce who you're really here for. Everyone give it up for your favorite radio star, Don T. Film. The audience cheers even louder as the attractive man emerges from the curtain and takes a seat. Don's face is all smiles. He seems excited to be on a talk show. Good evening, America. Even more cheers for his silky tenor voice. Hey, Don. How are you tonight? Not bad, not bad. And you? Oh, I could be better. I think I'm coming Don with something. After a pause, the audience laughs at the corny joke. Don doesn't seem to get it. Oh, are you okay? That idiot. Oh, I'm fine. It was a joke. Oh, I get it. He probably still doesn't. So anyways, talk to us about your newest album, Dying in Your Arms. Where did you draw inspiration? That's my album. Well, recently, I had a heartbreak. She was beautiful, and she left me. I wrote this album by channeling my emotions into the songs. You liar. You liar! Oh, that's terrible. Have you managed to move on? Don't pity him. He's a murderer. Sort of. It's complicated. Yeah, real complex how you stole my girl, my album, and my life. Well, let's move on. Don't want to dwell on the past, do we? Oh, Steve, I really do. So I hear you have the new love interest. Is she a rebound from the one you lost? You could say that. Oh, shut up, shut up. I. Don seems to choke on his words. Are you okay? Do you need some water? Don nods. I'm sick of seeing your success. I'm sick of your lies. You're a killer, and you will pay. Stand by, folks. A camera comes flying loose from the grasp of one of the cameramen and crashes into Don's head. He's out cold, his pulse goes down excruciatingly slowly, and then finally, he's gone. They say video killed the radio star, but I bet you weren't expecting such a literal twist. Okay, so this one is called A Birthday Stolen is a Birthday Gained. This title reminds me of one quote from Star Wars The Clone Wars called, "A lesson learned is a lesson earned." Well, I might as well read this one to wrap up the video, so alright, goodbye. A Birthday Stolen is a Birthday Gained. Written by Heart of Hestia. I have always wanted children, just not until I was ready. It took me ages to find a man that I felt the same. After years of waiting, maturing like a fine wine, we finally had our boy. All the blue teddy bears and bows in the world weren't enough to show our excitement at the arrival of our perfect little Ellie. He was a quiet infant, always observing the world around him without interacting with it. Now I understand he's a boy, but he's always favored his father over me. It's a bittersweet feeling, one that brings inadequacy. Every touch of word of love was met with scorn, especially after he was old enough to speak. As much as it hurts me at times, in the long run, I didn't care. After so many regrets, I vowed to do everything in my power to show this baby love and a good life. I wasn't ready before, but my child is my life now. The night of his 6th birthday, I crept into his room to place his presents at the foot of his bed. His eyes opened, a stark brown in contrast to my husband, and eyes blue ones. I sat down, leaning across him to give him one last birthday hug. A searing pain blazed through my skin of my stomach, filling my throat with blood like the high tide of the sea. Visions danced across my view, laying on the metal table all those years ago. The paperwork I had to sign, the burning pain after leaving the clinic. Ellie, why would you do this? I choked out through a blood-soaked tongue. His eyes glared at me, a wide smile peeling across his face. You decided to take my life, so I'm taking yours.